And we're live.
You ready to see it? Okay, cool. Hey guys, thank you for joining us. This is Bridget with the Inspection Boys, and I'm so excited to have here Charles Weinraub with the Handsome Home Buyer. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being the only person that has ever pronounced my last name right. That was awesome.
Oh, I'm so glad I did. I was looking at it. I was like, oh crap, I hope I do it right.
I was like, she's going to do it. She's going to do it. She's got it.
So Charles, I got to ask you this. What nationality are you?
What nationality am I? So, oh, that's interesting. I didn't see that question. So
I know, I just thought of it. I just thought of it now.
So in a former life, I was Dominican, 100%
Okay.
Dominican. That I know. In this life, I'm a certified pizza bagel. So my mother is 100% Sicilian. My father is half Polish, half Russian. And my mother converted before I was born, so I had a bar mitzvah, so I am Jewish.
Okay, so the reason why is I'm Spanish and I see you posting about, I even saw that salsa video you did one time at a job site, and then you posted about the Aventura going live, and I was
Yes!
like, what the heck is this guy?
Who is this guy? my physical being is a white Jewish Long Island boy, but my soul is Latino.
Is Dominican, specifically Dominican.
Specifically Dominican, yes. I would like to think that I was a bachatero in a former life. That's what.
Oh, wow. You even used a great terminology for that, bachatero. Oh, my God. Well, I saw those moves. You did really good. And you had my interest peak at that point.
Thank you.
All right. So just wanted to also say the event that you and JB did for the Real Estate Revolution, I watched the entire thing. And I loved it. You guys were great speakers. You had a lot of great speakers too. And I learned a lot that I never even knew. And I thought I was pretty knowledgeable in this industry. And when you were talking, my mind was blown.
Thank you. No, that's amazing. That was a crazy event. Originally, and it was a ton of work. Originally, it was supposed to be live. It was supposed to be at the Tilla Center. We're going to have 2,250 people there on stage, roaring. And unfortunately, Corona happened. And last minute, we kind of put that together. And I am not tech savvy at all. So I have to really give it up to JB. He is amazing, amazing, amazing. And the speakers are truly like, I was running around for months before screaming like, yo, you're going to see the best of the best, the best of the best. And I think people were kind of like, this is cool. We want to check it out. But I don't think people really realized how awesome the speakers are. And everybody crushed it. Like they were amazing. Everybody.
They did a really good job. My husband, I kept going, we were in my house. I was watching it on the TVs and then we had to leave. So then I was streaming it onto my phone. So nice. I was dedicated to watching it and I was really impressed with it. And a lot of great information. And not for nothing though, JB's office is also super beautiful and incredible. All the technology he has is crazy.
It's crazy what he's done, and he really is a visionary with what he does as far as the coaching, the business development. I was talking to him yesterday because I'm totally revamping now that school's over. I'm totally revamping my company, my marketing, everything. I'm going to come out fired up, and his creative ideas are just they're insane. He's just a very, very, very talented guy.
Absolutely. And it's something that I really kind of appreciate, going a little bit off topic from the questions, is you just said now that you're done with school, which congratulations, I saw that you finished. That's awesome. Masters, right?
Masters in Real Estate Development, NYU. Very exciting.
Awesome. That's awesome. But you were mentioning just now about revamping your marketing. I think that's so important to stress right now in a time that we're in right now, because real estate agents, they're limited in what they can do. So many people are limited. Construction are limited, everything. And I think spending some time on revamping your marketing, trying to figure out how you're going to overcome the coronavirus is so important, because some people are going to either make it or break it at this point. The people who aren't really doing much marketing, they may not come out so great at the end of this,
Yeah, I mean, I think people really exist in two worlds. You're either evolving and you're growing and you're changing, or you're dying, and that's it. And the moment you become comfortable and you stop trying to engineer and you stop trying to grow and do new different things and reach is when you're basically basically screwed. Like there's always somebody chasing you in every business, whether it be technology or another, another company in the same business. You always have to be moving and changing and growing.
Absolutely. And I think you said that perfect. So how did you become who you are? Like what made you decide to start flipping and investing houses? I mean, how many houses did you flip last year?
So last year was actually a little bit mellow. I've done over 300 houses in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Last year, and mellow by my standards, I think we did like 47 or something last year, which that's not, I mean, it sounds like a lot to the average person, but for us, it's not, because we're used to doing 67, 89, 110 type houses. But in the last 18 months, the market was just so grossly inflated that it just didn't make sense. There was a lot of cheap money. There was a lot of inexperienced investors out there, and they were just driving the price of product up on the purchase side for investors to the point where it didn't make any sense. And I was like, I'm just going to hang out. I'm going to take my, 30 to 50 deals this year. I'm going to regroup. I'm going to wait and see what happens. I had originally thought that the market was going to take a crap Q4 2019. That was my prediction from the beginning of 2017. I was pretty close. I didn't think it was going to be from a crazy virus that swept across the world. But I just saw the way the things were changing. And now I kind of feel like, there's a lot of people that think everything's going to be fine. There's a lot of people that think everything's going to be horrible. I think everything is going to be okay for a certain segment of the market. And I think struggling segments of the market that were already struggling, I think are just really, that's it. They're done.
Yeah, and what were you doing prior to flipping and investing?
So I owned a body shop franchise called Mako, like But to Get Mako on TV in Hempstead. When I was 27, I'm 40 now, I read a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
It's a great book.
And I wanted to, life changer. They should give that in high school as opposed to the useless shit that they give us in high school. So I read that. I'm like, I'm going to be a professional investor. So I went to NYU and I took a one-day class on foreclosures like 2 years later. And they said, join the local RIAs. RIAs are real estate investment associations. And I met my mentor, Carl, who was also in the real estate revolution. And I trained with him for like 3 years before I ever attempted to do a deal. And then it took me a year to actually get my first deal. And I did 2 deals that first year while I owned the Mako. I immediately put the Mako up for sale and I sold it. And now I've been a full-time investor for the last 5.5 years.
Wow, that's great. Not an easy thing, but it seems like you really just did your research and really tried to learn the trade before you just kind of jumped in there.
Well, that's the thing with everything. Like, you can't just go and watch a TV show and flip a house or buy a rental. You're going to get crushed. Like, I have a tremendous amount of both real world and, traditional education between, my college degree, between, working with Carl for an extended period of time, between now having a master's at NYU. I'm like, I flipped the most houses I ever did, over 100 houses 2.5, 3 years ago. And I signed up to get my master's in real estate.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, even when you're at the top of your game, you're always just at the bottom of the next mountain.
And I mean, all this, when you're talking about 100 houses, you said 2 years ago you flipped 100 houses? Yeah,
it was like 2.5 years ago. That year, that's when we hit the 100. So it's like we went from 40 to 69 to 67 to 89 to over 100. And then last year, that's when it really dropped off because the prices just got crazy.
That to me is mind-boggling because I'm just imagining the amount of work involved in that. So how the heck do you sleep? How the heck do you manage all that? How do you even have time to eat?
Well, I mean, I have an amazing team. I'm a crazy worker. Like, I love it. This is not a job for me. Like, I like the rush of this. Mm-hmm. I'm not married. I don't have any kids, which obviously helps. Like, if you're married and have kids, you have time constraints that I don't have. I also work really, really hard. I work harder than probably 99.9% of people out there in the industry that I have met. And I put together a team of people and delegated. So, right away, we built a construction company and I got family involved. A year and a half ago, I built an in-house permit business because I couldn't get my permits done, in-house property management. We have great subcontractors that have scaled along with us. And that's what you do. Once you have that infrastructure, you could just kind of crank it up or turn it down.
And that's great. I really like how you you've taken people and started delegating them on how to do certain tasks. I think that's so important for any type of business owner when they're trying to grow or scale their business. They can't be the only person doing everything. And I really like the way you mentioned that. So you answered one of my questions, that you're not married and you don't have kids. Are you dating?
I do have a girlfriend, an amazing girlfriend who deals with all of my craziness, which is that she deserves an award for that, because I'm definitely a difficult person to date.
Does she know how to do bachata and salsa?
She does not know how to do bachata and salsa at all. Nothing.
So you got to teach her. You got to be a lead and teach her.
More of like, she's amazing at so many things, but dancing is not her thing. She's more of like a two-stepper and only like 3 drinks into it. But,
That's so funny. No, I mean, not for nothing. Side note, when my husband and I started dating, I told him, okay, if you want to be with me, you have to learn how to dance salsa and bachata.
Really?
Yeah, and he learned it. He's not the best, but he definitely does it to make me happy, and I'm really proud of him about that. But
how did he learn?
I'm sorry?
How did he learn? Did he go take classes? How did he learn?
So there was a guy that I was friends with, and he just came to our house and, started teaching him while we were dating in Ozone Park. And when I first moved to New York, and Ozone Park Queens would come right before we got married. And he taught my husband. I mean, he's not a pro, but he does a good job.
Yeah, I mean, so it's hard. Listen, I took 9 months of intense classes. I did primarily salsa because I felt salsa was harder, and that's really what I wanted to learn. Bachata, like, it depends on how you dance bachata. Like, the basic step of bachata is okay, pretty easy, but now they're doing some crazy.
They're doing crazy stuff, and Dominicans do really crazy stuff.
Like, they've basically turned bachata into salsa.
Yeah.
It's like now it's on the same level of like intricate turns and turn patterns and things like that. But it is a very humbling, very difficult thing to do, to learn. It is very hard.
Yeah, it is, and salsa is my favorite. I love listening to bachata, but salsa is my favorite, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you have a head start because it's in your blood.
Yeah.
Like a white Jewish guy, I think Latinos have an extra couple of joints in their body where they can do things that the rest of us can't. So we have to do the best we can, but with enough practice, we're okay.
So the best dancer I've ever danced with was my friend back in Florida, and he is white, and he was the best salsa dancer I've ever danced with before.
He must have had a crazy amount of training.
My other friend trained him for many years, but he was I loved going dancing with him, and he was incredible. No, he is incredible. He's not dead. He's still alive.
Nice. That's all. Yeah, it requires a tremendous amount of training, but it's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. The music is amazing. Like, people are like, what the hell is going on? Like, I'm really driving around all day, and that's the only thing I listen to is Latin music. And I'm like, and people just, they don't understand. Like, Latinos don't understand. I feel like I'm caught in between different nationalities. Like, I don't know who the hell I am. Like, Latinos are looking at me like, who the hell are you? And white people look at me like, who the hell are you? And I'm in limbo. Like, I'm not Latino enough. I'm not white enough. Like, what am I?
That's what caught my interest. That Facebook post you posted of dancing salsa in front of the property. I was like, wow, what is this guy doing?
What the hell is this guy doing?
So during this crisis, are you still buying and flipping houses right now?
Like crazy, like a madman. I am buying anything and everything that's not nailed down, or that is nailed down that makes sense. In the first-time home buyer market primarily. So I am doing a couple of dormer jobs that are, 600,000 to 700,000. Maybe I'll go as high as 750, but most of my product is going to be in that sub 550 now, so a sub 450 in Suffolk, where I feel like there's a tremendous demand always. You're going to get people coming out from the city. You're still going to get people that are in government and healthcare and all that. And there's always going to be a demand for that. Like, I put a house on the market in Brentwood last week. We had 30 calls in 2 days.
Wow. So, I mean, in an area like Brentwood, do you have any problems selling houses? I mean, you just said 30 offers or 30 calls. So usually Brentwood is considered, I guess, not too great of an area. Is that, you find that area changing right now?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like there's multiple parts to that question. So any house will sell in any area very, very fast if it's priced appropriately. So, there are people that really what, like people that are in Brentwood are typically of certain cultures that want to be around each other, and that's where they want to live. People in other areas, different cultures, that's where they want to live. So just as long as you have, stable, if not growing population of those people, you're always going to be selling houses. Like we sell houses everywhere. Wyandanch, Bellport, Mastic, Wantua, Seaford, Roosevelt, Uniondale. It doesn't matter.
So you
South
go
Bay,
everywhere.
everywhere, everywhere, everywhere.
What's your favorite area?
I really don't have a favorite area. Anything that can make me money, I'm happy with. I learned early on that if I wanted to do volume, I had to have the ability to be able to analyze deals very quickly across all of Long Island. So that's really what I do. What I've done from the very beginning is I understand all types of building, all asset classes, all markets within that. And that ranges anywhere from your basic flicks and flip to a land deal to new construction to dormers to any type of commercial development on any level, from office to assisted living to affordable housing to multifamily to self-storage.
Wow. So you've done all those types of
I've
um
not done all those.
okay.
I've done 85% of those, but I have at least a basic knowledge of all of them. So if somebody, the cool thing about me is if, let's say from a development standpoint, if you have a piece of property and you call an apartment developer, that property might not work for that apartment developer because that's all he or she does is develop apartments. But when you call me with a piece of land, I look at this thing and say, based on the area, based on the size, based on the parking requirements, the zoning, et cetera, what I feel I can get here, my relationships with the local government, I can do medical office, or I can do a 7-Eleven, or I can do affordable housing or senior housing. Like I'm well versed in all these things where the average developer is not.
Gotcha. Now, so you mentioned Nassau and Suffolk. Do you do New York City?
I don't really do New York City. I've stayed away from the boroughs for a couple different reasons. It is just a zoo over there. Like the stuff that I see go on in the boroughs, I'm just like, you know what? I can do business like a gentleman on Long Island. I don't need to be rolling up with sacks of cash and pulling contracts out of my pocket on the street in broad daylight. That's not the way I like to do business. And I also felt that it was grossly inflated for what it was. And now it's in trouble.
Sorry about that. Had a
It's
little bit of technical difficulty. I think it's still live too, right?
yeah, I never stopped. You were just
That's crazy.
on. I was like, oh,
Sorry, no, Optimum really sucks in my area. I keep getting outages like once a day, so it's crazy. So you're saying before we lost connection, uh, why don't you go into the boroughs?
I just again, I didn't like the business practices that I saw in the boroughs. A, and then B, I just felt that it was just grossly inflated for what it was, and now it's they're having a problem. I mean, development in New York City has been down hardcore for like the past year, maybe year and a half. It's just it's too much money for what it is. It was a lot of foreign money coming in, and I was thinking to myself as I was watching this foreign money, people were like, oh, foreign money's coming in. I'm like, yeah, until foreign money's coming in at like zero yield or very small yield, what happens when they have other opportunities somewhere else? They're going to stop. And when they stop and they pull their money out or money stops coming in, there's going to be a big problem. And that's what started happening. And then now this happened, which is just crazy.
Yeah, I can't. Now, do you do anywhere outside of New York or like other states or not really?
No, not really. I've been doing some stuff up in Westchester, but I don't do anything outside New York. Right
Okay. So right now with the current market, is houses up, going down? I mean, what do you see kind of happening?
I mean, things have been a little bit funky for the last few months, obviously. I mean, I only have one house that hasn't sold. It actually did sell, but the person got COVID and ended up in the ICU.
Oh, wow.
So I had another one fall out of contract, put it right back up, went right back out. So everything that I'm listing, that I have been listing over the last 2 months, is sold relatively quickly. So, but they're all in that first-time home buyer market. They're all like sub 550 or sub 450. And I have realtors hitting me up on a daily basis. Like, I have buyers looking for this. I have buyers looking for that. Like, what do you have? Do you have things? Like, there's a lot of interest in the market. And I think when people go back to work, which I think people are actually going back to work. I think they just went back to work. Not everybody, but if you go on the road is not what it was.
It's not what it was. No, absolutely not.
What are you going to do?
Absolutely. And speaking of real estate agents, one time we talked on the phone before, and you were mentioning about some things that you do for the real estate agents. Can you talk about that a little bit when you buy properties from agents? Some of them, yeah.
So I try to make it a pleasant experience. I appreciate the agents and everything that they do, and I want them to have a good experience and obviously have a financial benefit in what goes on. So when an agent brings me a property that I end up flipping, I always give the listing back to the agent. We also obviously have a good time when we're doing it. When the property is ready to be resold, it's a beautiful gut renovated property. I put a lockbox on there, 2 sets of keys. I write the description for them. I have the photographs taken. I really make it a turnkey operation for them, so that really all they have to do is show up to the open house and then wait for the phone to ring and then take an offer and cash out fast.
That's great. So you really try to give them business back then, pretty much too.
Yeah, always. I mean, I relist the properties at 4%. If an agent, I never try to say, oh, I didn't make enough money on this, I need you to take less. I would never do that. If an agent is lucky enough to find the buyer, they get the full 4%. I don't ask for a discount. It's very important in business that you let everybody make money. If you do that, you will make more money yourself.
That's so true. So true. Now, during all this process, when you're putting a house up for sale again and the agents are involved, what do you think of home inspectors? Do you use them? What do you think of them coming to your properties?
I have, what it is? I have, if I was a buyer, if I was recommending to a buyer, or as I have, or if I myself was buying something, I think home inspectors are obviously vital. Good home inspectors. I think there aren't a lot of good home inspectors. I think you guys are probably in the top 5% of home inspectors. There's a difference between people like you with a proven model and then somebody that did some construction or just thinks they can get a home inspector's license because they, if they do a couple home inspections a week, they're happy. So it's very important to have a home inspector for all agents, but more importantly, it's very important to have the right home inspector.
That's so true, and that's pretty much what we always discuss with people too, real estate agents or, anybody in, that's in this market, finding the good home inspection company. We hope it's us, but finding that good home inspection company that knows what they're doing is really important. What is something that you hate that home inspectors always call out?
I don't, you know what? I never really had a bad experience with a home inspector. I, you know, typically our houses are gut renovated. So we typically have very few things on the rider. Let's say they'll pick out, let's say anywhere from 1 to 3 things that we have to rectify. And listen, nothing in life is perfect. After that home inspector went in, if you were to go in, you would find 3 totally different things. Like we're talking about a house.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I think is very important for home inspectors to understand is you can't just be a home inspector. You have to have a certain temperament because most houses that are lived in do have some problems. And that's the norm. That's not to say that the house is going to fall down, but you have to be able to calmly discuss things and relay the significance of them with a potential buyer without alarming them, making them think their house is going to fall down.
And that's absolutely true, because the temperament and how you approach things and deal with clients and agents as well is really key when it comes to this. I have to say though, if a home inspector, from based off of the photos I see and the quality of work that you do is there. You know, like when you're doing your renovations, I see everything that you're doing. And, you know, there are some investors or flippers out there that don't put that quality into it. And I have to say, it's really nice to see somebody like you. Even I just saw that post you did the other day that the whole water supply was missing from the meter onto the street. That's crazy.
It was crazy. We had to trench 100 feet and run a brand new water line from the meter all the way to the house. Like my guys are basically programmed. They programmed me because I didn't know anything about construction when I got into this. But my foreman is amazing, and he's like, "We got to do it right." And I'm like, "Everything just gets done right." And a lot of times it's easier to just rip it out, but that is and start over. But that's why I also did less houses last year, because you had people that were buying a house that was worth $420 when it was done at, let's say, $300,000, and you have $120,000 worth of renovations to do that house properly. There's no way you can make money. So what do? They band-aid it together. I'm sure you walk into houses that rehabbers have done, and you're just like, what the hell?
Oh my God, it's horrendous sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like tile over tile, wood over wood, like balled up wires stuffed in, things aren't grounded out, like it's just a disaster.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like the quality of work is so obvious, even just from all the social media posts that you do. You really do a good job, and you know I have to give you a lot of credit and thank you for doing that, because you're providing better houses for people too. Not that's really important.
Yeah, because listen, this is a small business and I want to market myself so people know who I am. I don't want to like duck and hide under a mystery LLC because I sold somebody a house that was a piece of shit. You know, it's just not the right thing to do. And I think there's a certain segment of the population that when they sell me a nasty house, they feel, some people just want the most money possible. Then there's some people that also care about their neighborhood, they care about their neighbors, they want it to be beautiful, and they want to continue that cycle of family, and that's important to them.
Absolutely, and you really worded that really good. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your Captain Permit business? What made you open that up?
So Captain Permit came out of sheer necessity. I've dealt with dozens of architects and expediters, and they all really sucked. They didn't return your phone calls. They didn't have significant infrastructure. They took forever. Now, listen, this stuff takes a long time because most of the townships are an absolute hot mess disaster when it comes to processing these things. But there's a way to go about dealing with that. And I've lost a lot of money in carrying costs, or guys that just disappeared with money over the years that I just, I needed to have my own. So I'm vertically integrated in pretty much everything that we do because it's hard to rely on people. And that was the next step. And then once we had that moving, I was like, you know what, let's expand this and let's resell the service because I have the network and there's so many people that need this type of service that I felt that we could easily capture market share, and we became profitable inside the first 30 days, which was awesome.
Wow. Honestly, I wish I knew about you when we did my house. We got my house and we did a lot of work to it. And I did all the permit process and everything. I was like pulling out my hair trying to learn it all. So do you ever have to deal with variances?
We do deal with variances. We do that. We do everything we do a lot of legalizations, new construction homes, additions, interior alterations for investors. Because listen, I mean, I've gotten in more trouble than probably anybody else just due to the sheer volume. So I've had a lot of hard learned lessons just due to being out there in the shit of it. So we can tell you, like, plus I have relationships. I know what goes on today. So that I don't know if you heard this yet, because it's literally like hot off the press. Typically in the town of Hempstead and the town of Oyster Bay, if you had a finished basement, you didn't need an egress window if you didn't have an outside entrance. They would call it finished storage, and that was fine. As of 5/12, that's no longer allowed. You need an egress window.
Oh, wow. For the entire state, or?
This is now a statewide.
Wow.
Now statewide. So any basement that is finished that currently is not legal will not be permitted without an egress window.
Wow, that's great though. That's really great.
Yeah, it's safe, it's the right thing to do, but you as a home inspector or the realtors that are looking at this, that's a big cost for your client. That could be $3,000 to $5,000.
Absolutely, that's a huge cost, put in an egress window, and yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's for a safety, perspective, it's a great thing that you want in case there's ever a fire. You have to, get out of the basement quickly.
Without a doubt, no, it's a necessity. I'm actually surprised that they let it go this long without, making it mandatory. But that is definitely something that needs to be addressed now. If you already have a permit, you're good. But this is like, from a go forward of legalizing or new construction.
So before we end, we're running out of time right now, but I wanted to ask you if you had to give agents any tips on how to succeed during this pandemic, or, what would you say?
I would just say evolution is key. Get uncomfortable, adopt technology. You have to do things that you didn't do before. I have a lot of older seasoned agents that contact me and tell me, hey, business is down, this and that. It's like, yo, business isn't down. If Brian Karp sold 205 houses in 2019, business isn't down, but you're not growing and changing. The ad on the bus stop isn't working. The ad in the penny saver is not working. That kind of stuff is not the same. This is really where the world is. You have to be on your phone. You have to be constantly making videos. You have to be, learning new strategies, working with younger people, older people, different people, getting ideas. It's very important to be growing in your business, or you're going to find yourself not having a business soon.
I have to say, like, you have a really big social media presence. Do you manage all that? Do you have somebody who manages it for you?
I manage all of it myself.
Wow.
Because that's the thing that people don't really understand. They're like, oh, okay, I need social media. I'm going to hire someone to do social media for me. You can't hire someone to do social media for you because it's not authentically you. And social media is essentially an extension of who you are and your personality that enables you to meet people that you otherwise wouldn't through the platform. But if they can't feel you for who you are, and you're just posting nonsense posts just to put stuff out there, it's not going to have an impact.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I have to say, Charles, thank you so much for doing this with us today. It was a pleasure kind of getting to know you better. And for everybody who's out there, please share this, and I'll be sure to share this and send you all the information as well, Charles. Thank you again.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity, and I will talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.